If you ask me, I think the highwaymen are staying far away from here. They're scared.
Far Cry New Dawn isn't really a New Dawn. It's one of their kind of .5 semi-installments they do between the main numbered titles. You'll know Primal, the one with the mammoths and the tusks and that. You'll know Blood Dragon, the one with the blood dragons. This is probably the nearest there's been to a kind of direct sequel they've done. It follows on from the events of Far Cry 5. The kind of, there was a cult, there was some nuclear weapons. You know what happens with these things. So you're looking at the old nuclear winter scenario here. But it's quite a nice nuclear winter. It's like more of a nuclear summer, really. Like everything is bright, there's lots of big neon colours, which I quite like. Because this is one of the reasons I always like Just Cause as well. Even though the games can be a bit hit and miss mechanically, I like that they're on like a lovely tropical island rather than games seem to focus in on misery a lot. If you look at like Fallout, it takes place in a nuclear wasteland as well, like this. But Fallout is just grey, brown misery. Whereas Far Cry New Dawn is happy. Well, not happy, but everything is neon, brightly coloured, lovely. Everyone looks like they're going to a rave in the 90s. Yeah, it's great. And it just feels like a kind of Mad Max meets Barney the dinosaur kind of aesthetic. There's also a lot of like, I think the bad guys in the game, who we'll come to later, they kind of mark their territory in the Far Cry world in Hope County by kind of sticking halves of cars in the ground, brightly coloured half cars, which is weird because it looks striking and original, but also how much effort does it require to cut a car in half, paint it, and then stick them all around your zone. I just think that must have taken a lot of time. I mean, narrative-wise, New Dawn is not going to win any BAFTAs like Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man did. There's a story there. It's a bit ropey. You talk. I think there's 15, 16 years after the nuclear blast. Spoilers from Far Cry 5, and obviously biker gangs have taken over because that always happens. Someone needs to stop biker gangs. Anyway, so you've got these biker gangs marking their territory with half cars, and you've got to, rebel and take the territory back because you're good. And that's kind of it. There's a few returning characters from Far Cry 5. There's some new characters. And I think what holds Far Cry together, particularly this kind of shorter installment here, is the personality and the people that you meet. It's very entertaining. Doesn't take itself entirely seriously. Seriously enough that like the shooting is great, and Far Cry always is. But in terms of the characterization, it's just very entertaining. There's a lot of things that will stick in your mind. It's not just a kind of po-faced first-person shooter. There's like a bit where you have to defend a base along with a hillbilly guy. He looks a bit like Duck Dynasty, that thing. And he's got a baby that's like setting off traps, and there's disco music playing. Yeah, it's very odd. And there's kind of like, there's a bit like a cage fight bit. And the boxing promoter, I think he's called Irwin. He's hilarious. And there is also the main bad guys, who aren't particularly funny, but they are great. Mickey and Lou, the two twins you'll see on the cover art for New Dawn. A bit one-dimensional, maybe. They are very much, we are evil. There's a hint at a backstory as to why they're evil. It doesn't really go into it much, though. But yeah, they're entertaining enough. And there's kind of a cool reversal from who was the antagonists in Far Cry 5 to who is now the antagonists. I won't go into it more than that, but you'll play it, you'll see it. Yeah, you'll be like, Jonny, you were right. There is a nice reversal. And the game kind of has a good sense of fun about it. You can craft weapons as you go along. And one of the first ones that you can do is a saw launcher, which is a kind of crossbow, but it launches like circular saw blades. And there's a description on the menu item screen that says the saw launcher launches saws, which is good. But then it's not fully developed on though. Like there are 4 ranks of weapons you can have. I think it goes from the usual to like legendary, elite, so on and so forth. And yeah, the saw launcher is the only one that's kind of a bit of a radical departure, and kind of like this is a novel thing. Other than that, it's the usual, assault rifle, sniper rifle, pistol, so on and so forth. But they go up in ranking, and they look quite cool and homemade as well because you're scavenging bits in the nuclear summer, winter. And it's a shame they didn't lean into that kind of silliness more with the weapons, although it does appear elsewhere though. The vehicles are pretty pretty interesting looking. My favourite that springs to mind is there's a tractor and it's got big old spiky blades on the front, and it's called the Velocitractor. That's great. Who could not enjoy that? But in terms of New Dawn not really being a New Dawn, it plays exactly as Far Cry 5 did, really, which is not a bad thing. I really liked Far Cry 5. Enjoyed the shooting, I thought it was very solid. It's just a great game. You got the nice choice between stealth and action. But the only thing about the weapons I'm not into is that the reload times are ridiculous. I mean, you can raise a small family in the time it takes to reload the shotgun. The animations are just so casual and so long. It kind of ruins the firefights a bit. Like if you look at the other extreme, would be Doom, where there is no reload times, and the firefights just flow, and it feels so great to jump around and like take everyone out. Whereas Far Cry, I suppose you could say it's more realistic to have these kind of long reload times. It is ridiculous. You got to see it. But then also, this is a game where you will get attacked by bears that are on fire, and you can double jump. So I don't know why you would be such a stickler for realism for the guns when you have these other aspects that are quite silly. Because the vehicles, for example, are the kind of usual springy physics you often get from Far Cry games. It's not a simulation. The handling is fine. The visibility is not great on a lot of the vehicles. But yeah, there's a couple of like armoured SUVs and things where you just really can't see where you're going. I don't know why no one picked up on that when they were building the game. But anyway, there's also a nice waypoint feature where it has an auto drive, so you can set your waypoints on the map, click in the left stick, and then it will just like route master you your way to the objective, so you can shoot or have a look around. That's quite a nice touch. And you can ride in vehicles with your buddies, because Far Cry, well, the recent ones anyway, like their buddy system. And it is great. I mean, they all have different perks. My favourite was obviously the dog, Timber, which you rescue from an animal torture. I don't know what it is. They're not having a good time, though. So you rescue him from there. He's a good one. There's also the sniping Nana. She's great. There's a guy in a mask who looks quite hard. There's a pig. There's a lady you start with. I can't remember her name. And yeah, the buddy system is fun. It has its flaws. The AI in Far Cry is a bit hit and miss, I find. Like sometimes I was going up ladders, and then I would try and come back down the ladder, but my buddy would be in the way, and I couldn't get back down, so that's not ideal. They seem to die a lot as well. You spend a lot of time reviving your buddies, even when there's not anyone shooting. They seem to get themselves in mischief. So it's all right. They're useful though. You can still direct them if you go into your kind of like, what's it called? Down the sight's view. You can command them to go to places or shoot something, and you need that as well, particularly in some of the later boss battles where the difficulty goes a bit mad. There seems to be some minor issues with vehicles and your buddies. Like one time I stole a vehicle specifically just to rescue an NPC I had to rescue, and they wouldn't get in, which was good of them. And also the dog, Timber, will not get on the dinghies or the boats that you can steal, even though there is plenty of room for him on there. And he will swim alongside, but he will not get in, which is quite odd. But the human ones will, but the dog... Maybe dogs don't like boats? Is that a thing? I don't know. There's two ways of progressing yourself through the game. You can firstly get the perk points as you progress through the game, and they can give you extra abilities like the grappling hook. That's pretty cool. Quite a lot of autonomy on the grappling hook. It's not just like throw grappling hook, go to place. You can like swing around on it. You can have a great time. Do a bit of Spider-Manning on it. And there's a double jump, as I mentioned, which is odd. Then there's more practical ones, though, like you can hold more weapons, which you definitely need. You're going to need that because the reload times are long. And you can also upgrade yourself by upgrading your base, which you do by collecting ethanol. As far as I'm aware, ethanol is that's alcohol, isn't it? That's like fuel or something. So I don't know how that helps you build up your base and like get better maps and training and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, you get ethanol by taking over enemy outposts. And you can either sneak up, do it stealth, or you can just barrel in. And on the earlier ones, you can just kind of barrel in and shoot everyone, and you'll be fine. As time wears on, because you can give up the outposts and then claim them back, and it's harder to get back, but then you get more ethanol from that. And when you've done that a couple of times, you will have to be stealthy, because the enemies will get harder, and they will mess you up. And there's dogs with bombs on them, which seems... let's not even go into that. There's a lot of elite troops as well that are very hard to take out. But you need to, because you need your ethanol, apparently. So, Far Cry New Dawn then. It is Far Cry 5.5. It is the same map, it's Hope County again, but nuclearified, all pretty in pink, and there's lots of nuclearified animals and angry wolverines and things. And it plays exactly like Far Cry 5, and that's not a bad thing. It's a shorter experience, and it seems to pack more in terms of, you know, character, personality, which I really enjoy in games. There's these kind of silly little sections like the cage fighting bit, and there's a destruction derby, and it's a solid experience, but you know exactly what you're getting from it. But if you played Far Cry 5 and you want more, or you haven't played it and you think, hey, this game looks bright and lovely, then this is going to work for you. It worked for me. And so that's why I'm giving Far Cry 5 New Dawn an 8.5. Pause for dramatic effect. So thanks for watching. This is NGB. You know how all this works. You've watched this, so you've probably subscribed already, but if you haven't, that'd be nice. Cheers. Have a lovely day. Bye.